Resolution 1267, amending the rate schedules of the Water Division for the purpose of providing a new rate for public fire protection service.
Commissioners, I'll remind you that every 3 years we have a new memorandum of agreement that comes up. It's an agreement between the City of Knoxville and KUB for how we will provide fire protection services, and in addition to that, the rate that will be charged. This year is the end of that third-year agreement. What you have before you today is a new 3-year agreement. This agreement has been provided to the city, and I'll ask Sherry Ottinger to brief the details of that.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. KUB's rate division schedules for the Water Division do provide for a public fire protection rate. This rate is used to assess charges for public fire protection provided by any governmental entity within the KUB water service territory, namely the City of Knoxville. Prior to your consideration of Resolution 1267, I wanted to provide you with some background information about public fire protection and how charges for this service are determined. For any city, the water system is an essential component of that city's ability to provide public fire protection to its citizens. Within the KUB water system, we have built in additional capacity. We have additional capacity at the treatment plants, the pumping stations, the storage facilities, and the water mains. And this additional capacity ensures that water will be available when needed for public fire protection. Of course, there are capital investment costs associated with that additional capacity, as well as ongoing maintenance costs. And both of those factor into the annual public fire protection charge. The specifics of how that charge is calculated are set forth in the Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, between KUB and the city. The MOU specifies certain cost allocation factors that are to be determined by an independent engineering firm. Those cost allocation factors are then applied to KUB's Water Division financials, and the resulting amount is the annual public fire protection charge. The Memorandum of Understanding is for a 3-year term. The first 3-year term began with fiscal year 2004. The MOU was drafted at the city's request. Prior to 2003, KUB would calculate the cost of the public fire protection charge on an annual basis, and the board would then adjust the rate every year. The city desired greater price certainty in what they were paying for public fire protection, and that is why they asked for us to go to a 3-year agreement. We are currently in our third 3-year term. This term will expire at June 30th. Within the Memorandum of Understanding, KUB and the city agreed that those cost allocation factors would be revisited in the 3rd year of each term. We have done that, and we sent that out to an independent engineering firm, and they brought the results back to us. Their study determined that 5.08% of our operating costs and 8.2% of our capital investment costs are attributable to the public fire demands put on our system. When we take those costs along with a true-up calculation that we do for each 3-year period, this year the true-up shows that we need to return $180,000 to the city. We take those and we also apply our current cost forecast. The resulting rate is $400.14 per hydrant. And we do take that annual charge and we do express it in a per hydrant rate. When we look at it in total, it is $2.9 million on an annual basis. This is an increase of approximately $170,000 over what the city is currently paying, which is roughly $2.7 million. That is a 5.5% increase. However, since this is on a 3-year term, if we annualize that, it would be a 1.8% rate on an annual basis. As Ms. Roach mentioned, we have provided all of the information that goes into this calculation, the engineering study, our cost forecast, and the calculation of the true-up. All of that information has been provided to the city. At this time, we do not have positive confirmation back from the city that they agree to that charge. However, because the MOU is set to expire at the end of June, we did feel it was necessary to proceed with asking for your approval of this rate. Certainly, if the city has any concerns about the calculation, we would bring that to the board's attention immediately. Now, at this time, we do ask for your consideration of Resolution 1267. As with any rate change, 2 readings are required. So if you approve the resolution today, we will be back in May for a second reading. And if you approved it on second reading, the rate would be effective July 1st.
I have a question. When you say you true up at the end of 3 years,
Yes.
is it added into what goes forward, or do they pay that right then?
It is added into what goes
The
forward.
next rate, okay.
Yes. So that 180,000 is built into the rate that we have before you today.
Have we ever had to go the other way? Has it ever been
Yes.
less? Okay.
Last time around, they owed us 9,000. So it can go either way, and positive or negative, it is built in.
Does that have to do with any of the use? None of this has to do with usage, though. Is that correct?
That is correct. This is simply for the capacity. The water that is used for firefighting, that is billed separately under a non-residential rate schedule.
So this is just for just the delivery of the service.
Correct.
So the fire that's going on right now, somebody's going to get a bill for that.
Correct.
Okay. I move approve.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. With other questions?
Can I ask it's not related to passing this, but it's just a curiosity question. What does this fire going on now do to our capacity? Does it affect it at all?
It does affect it, but we are certainly able to handle it. We estimate that the fire right now may be taking as much as 5 million gallons. Currently this week, our water system is producing in the low 30s, 30 to 35 million, so 5 out of 35. And as you may remember from a presentation a couple months ago by Ted Tyree, our water system, our treatment plant, can produce over 60 million gallons per day. So we are certainly able to handle that fire protection need.
Are there any public questions or comments in regard to this motion or resolution? Okay, Mr. Kohler, we need a roll call vote.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye.
Mr. Cannell.
Aye.
Mr. Rising.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Mr. Simmons. Aye. Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Resolution 1267 passes on first reading.
Okay, is there other business or comments, commissioners, or understand we might have somebody that wants to address us signed up to? Mr. Davis, we have a 5-minute speaker limit.
Yes, sir. I'm Scott Davis, P.O. Box 11315, Knoxville 37939. And I appreciate your all's time. I came here about a year ago, and I used a pretty aggressive approach, which I don't think was very effective. Today, I come before you with my hat in my hand, begging you for your consideration as it relates to the bond extensions for gas and electric service for new developments. As you may or may not be aware, over the last 3 to 4 years, KUB has collected over $2 million on bonds for gas and electric extensions. Many of these folks that y'all collected from are now out of business. I ran into a banker friend of mine the other day. He said 5 years ago he had 38 builder clients. Today he has 1. The last 4 to 4.5 years have been absolutely devastating to the building and development industry, as you guys are well aware. Gas bond extension agreements and electric bond extension agreements were established many, many years ago. The credits given for each of those were established many, many years ago. I think 400 for electric and 763 for gas. It would be my assumption that over this period of time, those credit numbers have gone up dramatically, meaning a per household consumption, I would assume, has gone up significantly, although the credits have not been adjusted. What I'm begging of you all today is consider extending those agreements for those of us who are still in the business. I don't think it would negatively impact the ratepayers if those extensions were granted for a period of time to give us time to provide new customers. As you may also not be aware that you all did grant extensions, we appreciate that, but during that extension time, there's no credit given for new customers. So if I had a 40-lot subdivision, I connected 20 customers, and you all granted a 1-year extension. If I connected those other 20 customers during that period of time, I was not given credit for that, even though you all now have 40 customers instead of 20. In light of the economic environment we're fighting against, I respectfully beg of you all to please reconsider these agreements and extending those to give us time to provide new customers, to get hooked up to the system. It's been tough. It's been really tough. And I understand you all have an obligation to your ratepayers. And I don't think that extending those agreements with no penalty to allow us time to extend new customers is going to negatively impact the ratepayers. If it does, I'd love to sit down and look at how that is taken. We can take that into consideration. Again, I appreciate your time. My last approach was not good, and I apologize. We can start over fresh again. Thank you all.
Any other comments? Public input? Commissioners have any questions or comment? If not, I believe we're going to take a brief adjournment period while we get ready for the 5-year plan presentation. Temporary adjournment.